What's up, Fisherman Fanatics? So I was attempting to record this video actually, and I had to stop and didn't get very far. If you watch the previous video, you'll see that our angels had spawned again, and it was pretty nifty. As of last night, they did eat the eggs again. Not surprised there. I didn't pull them out. We have so much other stuff going on right now that I didn't feel it would be the best choice to pull them out and try to raise them right now. I didn't feel that they would get the attention that they needed. And I know I brought that up before and had mentioned that if we're going to be doing something where there's going to be fry or there's going to be something that is a little more strenuous, we want to make sure that we have time to take care of them. With that being said, we did have some other fry, but not from the angels, it was from another set of fish. So it's not very many, so it's a lot easier to maintain and handle. It's not a matter of pulling out eggs and ending up with between 50 to 200, 300 eggs. So we decided that right now it was best just to let them do what they had to do, and the eggs got eaten. That's fine. So that's not why we're here today. We are going to discuss how to cycle a tank. And the only reason I'm bringing it up, I did mention it in a previous video, and I didn't want to talk about it before simply because it is a very heated topic amongst the hobby, and there are a number of different ways to do it, and they all work. It's been proven they all work. It's just what is your personal opinion and preference. It's not as difficult as you think, but it is something that has to be done before you can put any real live critters inside of the tanks. To cycle a tank, there's a process it goes through. If you're unfamiliar with this process, you should check it out. There's tons of videos on it. There's tons of information on it online. But basically what happens is when a tank is cycling, there's ammonia in the water. The ammonia is caused by either fish waste, excessive amounts of food, things of that nature, right? What happens is there's a bacteria that grows inside the tank that would then consume the ammonia. But in doing so, it releases nitrites. So your ammonia levels in your tank, if you can test your tank, you'll see your ammonia levels start to go up. And then eventually, the beneficial bacteria has grown enough to where that number starts to go back down again. Well, once that number is decreasing, the beneficial bacteria that's consuming the ammonia will release nitrite as a waste. So ammonia, super duper harmful to fish, can do a lot of damage and can even kill fish. Nitrites released by the beneficial bacteria that consumes ammonia are also harmful to your fish. They're not as toxic as ammonia, but they're still toxic. So what happens now is there's an additional batch of beneficial bacteria that will come in and start to grow. And those bacteria will consume your nitrites, again producing waste as well. So what you'll see is now your ammonia that was up here has decreased back down, but now the nitrite level in your tank is up here, and eventually it will start to slowly go down as well. Well, those bacteria that consume the nitrites release the waste called nitrates, and there are a few different ways to get rid of nitrates in your tank. Nitrates cannot be removed by bacteria. It is there unless you physically do something to get rid of it. And by doing this, I mean planting live plants. Live plants consume nitrates. They use it, they consume it as a food source, and then they release oxygen into the water. You can do a water change. Key thing to do when you're thinking about all this is to check the levels. Even though nitrates are not that harmful, in high amounts they can be harmful to your fish. So you want to keep it around 40 parts per gallon or under, 40 parts per million, or below. This will ensure that the fish are as healthy as they can be. So you can do a water change. Now, let's say that you do have 40 parts per million in your tank at that particular moment in time before you do the water change. You then change 50% of your water. You're going to decrease the number to 20 parts per million. If you were to do 75% water change at 40 parts per million, you're going to decrease it to 10 parts per million. So it doesn't just completely disappear. You have to make sure that you're balancing it out. So if you were to do a 50% water change today at 40 parts per million, you go test it tomorrow and realize there's 20 parts per million and did another 50% water change, you're not going to get rid of that last 20. What you're going to do is reduce that now down to 10. So it's not like it's just, oh, there's 40 parts, I'll do a water change today, water change tomorrow, that's 2 halves, that's 40, it's gone. It spreads throughout the tank. So you need to make sure that you keep that in mind. Getting into talking about all that wasn't really why we're here, but in order for you to understand how cycling a tank works, it's kind of a background information on it. So anyways, you understand ammonia's in the tank, it's consumed, releases nitrites, which are consumed, which then in turn creates nitrates you remove, be it by planting live plants or doing water changes, right? So, which is great. So now what you need to understand is that there are different ways to create this beneficial bacteria. There are products out there that are chemicalized. You can throw some chemicals into your tank and it will help get you ready for the cycle. You can do absolutely nothing. The cycle will happen naturally. And there's a few other ways that you can do it as well. Now, the easiest way to cycle a tank, by far, is also the longest in the process. That is filling up the tank, put your plants in there, be it live or fake, your decorations, all of your gravel, and everything else you want in your tank except for fish. No fish. Throw water in there, let it sit. Walk away. It can take a month, it can take 2 months. It all depends on the size of the tank and kind of how your water quality is too as well. If you have a higher ammonia level in your water, which some people do, even though for city water you're not supposed to have any, but if you're in a well, it's possible as well. It all depends. If there's an additional amount of ammonia in your water, it can help cycle the tank a little bit faster. But if you do absolutely nothing at all, it can take between a month to 2 months. And this is not putting fish in there. You walk away, you test it after about 3 weeks to see where it's at, test it again every couple weeks after that. That is the easiest way to do it. It is also the longest, and if you're impatient and you don't want to wait and you can't do it, can't afford to wait for it to be done the right way, there are other ways to do it. Another suggestion that I use and have used is throwing fish food into the bottom of the tank. What this does is it creates an excessive amount of ammonia. Again, as fish food breaks down, it releases ammonia. So if you toss in fish food and there's nothing consuming it, all of that waste is sitting there and it's going to release ammonia, which can help jumpstart the cycle process. It also can shorten it. Not necessarily by a whole lot, but it does work. I know I've done it. Then once the tank is cycled, you do your water change, you remove all of the excessive food that's in there, and you're ready to go with your fish. There's a couple of other ways to do this as well. And I'm going pretty shortly over these because, again, it's a heated topic in the hobby, and there's a million different ways that people have come up with to do these things. And some will claim some are better than others because this way doesn't involve chemicals, this way does involve chemicals, it can be harmful to the fish, this is what you need to do. That's not why I'm here. I am just giving you general ideas of how to do it, and you can choose for yourself which would be easiest for you. You do not have to do any of these things. You can do them all in different tanks. You can't do them all in one tank, it wouldn't work that way, but you can use them in different tanks and see what your preference is if you need to. That's the only reason why I'm going over them as quickly as I am. I'm not going to go into a huge debate, this is the best way to do it, this is the worst way to do it. Again, it's not why I'm here. I'm here to tell you how it can be done. So, we have absolutely nothing in the tank whatsoever. Let it cycle by itself. You can toss food in there that will raise the ammonia level, which will help jumpstart the cycle. You can also use products. There are products out there, like a quick start product, where it says you can add this and within 48 hours or 24 hours, throw fish in me and they're fine. Is that true? No. It can work, but you have to keep in mind with quick start, all that's doing is it's coating the gills of the fish to allow them to survive in horrendous, water quality. Will it eventually allow you to cycle the tank? Yeah, you have fish in there releasing waste. You're feeding them food, excess of food's weight, releasing waste. That will start the cycle. Do you want to put your fish through a month of possible torture because you don't want to wait a couple of weeks? Up to you. That's the reality of it. It coats the fish's gills and it allows them to breathe better under horrific conditions. And they are. When a tank is first cycling, ammonia is extremely toxic and can kill fish like within a day. It's pretty bad. So you can use Quick Start, and I'm not saying that it's a horrible product because it does help them. If you have a tank crash, you can use it, just to make sure you're saving your fish. Is it going to allow all of your fish to live? Probably not, because there are some fish out there that are more hardier than others, and there are some that are alive, just more sensitive to things like that. So even using Quick Start, if you put in some fish, there's no guarantee they're going to live. They could still die. I've had it happen back in my younger days when I was doing this. The tank isn't completely cycled, and you're like, oh, I used the Quick Start, and I put the fish in there, and you bring the fish back because it died, and they check your water, and they're like, yeah, this is water quality issue. We're not going to do anything for you. Had that happen. You have to make sure if you're going to use Quick Start, you follow directions on it, and I still wouldn't suggest necessarily adding a ton of fish in there. I would do a couple of fish at most and make them the hardiest fish that there are. Again, I'm not saying that I condone this behavior. I'm not saying that I'm against this behavior. Me personally, I wouldn't use it, but it can be done. And if you need to, you can go back once a week and add a little bit more in there to help them, get through the tough times. I mean, it would be akin to you walking up to the forest at ground level, having 100% oxygen levels in the air, and climbing all the way to the top of Everest. And then once you're there, barely being able to breathe because the oxygen quality in the air is a lot lower. And then coming all the way back down again, waiting a week, and then going all the way back up again. It's a vicious roller coaster, and eventually it's going to stress you out and it's going to put wear and tear on your body. The only way I can describe it is just that ability to be able to breathe is taken away from you. Okay? And it's not saying you can't breathe, but you feel like you can't because the air is so much thinner out there. That's that. Now, there is a product that we do use that is a chemical, and again, people are going to be like, you can't use chemicals, it's harmful to fish. I understand how you feel. I do. I also know that with doing what we do, and as long as we've done it, I've never had any issues using these products. So, we use a product called Stabilize. And what this does is it does jumpstart the process for cycling. Does that mean that I go in there and put fish in there immediately? Absolutely not. I still don't. We dose the tank every day for a week. We test it to see where it's at. No fish involved. See if it's helped. See where the tank is at with quality. And if it's not where it needs to be, we will dose it for another week. And check it day per day to see where it's at. And then once it's done cycle, you would leave the water in there, let it filter through the system, do a water change first, and then add fish. That's how we've gotten this one right here done. A 72 gallon, if you remember, we only picked it up a few weeks ago. It took us a little bit to set it up. We actually got it set up that night, filled up, but we got it scaped a little bit after. This has been going for about 2 weeks now, and it's cycled. So, it works. I don't have to wait a month. There's no fish in there. But I didn't wait, 2 months either. So I do a water change, and you can see there's plants in there. They're doing wonderfully. It hasn't harmed the plants. It's not going to harm the fish because it's cycling out. And we're going to do a water change before we add anything to them as well. So that reduces the amount of chemicals that were in there if there wasn't any even left. So this is how we do it to get through the cycling process a little bit quicker. Again, I'm not saying that's the right way or the wrong way to do it. I'm saying that I have done it every single way there is, and all of them work to an extent. The easiest way, again, fill it up, let it sit. You do nothing. Takes a while, but that's the easiest by far to do it. Easiest way by far. If you're going to do something like putting in the fish food, Again, you have to go through, make sure that you have it spread around a little bit, and you're still waiting for it to, degrade and release ammonia, and it's still time. And it's, a little bit more costly because you're using a little bit of fish food, which isn't really expensive, but, it is another way. Again, with Quick Start, you can use it. It works. I've done it. You may lose some fish in the process. Be prepared for that. But it does work. Stabilize works. Done it every which way. And there are other ways that people will come up with, and they'll tell you, oh, you can try this, and oh, you can try that, and based off of these numbers and these statistics, that's fine. Those are just the 4 common ways that people do stuff like this. The 4 most common ways people cycle tanks. That's all it is. And I can tell you that they all work to an extent, and they have positives and negatives with each one. That's all. But I hope this information informs you a little bit more on your decisions on how you want to cycle your tank if you haven't already. If you've just set up a fish tank, please don't put fish directly in there without doing anything at all. They're not going to make it. You might get lucky if you have a goldfish. I mean, goldfish can survive in pretty much anything, but again, I've been into that position before where someone told me, hey, just throw this in there, and I'm not for it. I want to make sure that they have the best conditions possible before I put them in. So it can work, I just wouldn't recommend it, personally. And that's really about it. I mean, the whole idea is to figure out the easiest and the best ways, to move forward in the hobby. Make sure that we're constantly, growing and taking care of the critters that we keep. I can tell you, we have the bare bottom was food cycled. We didn't use any chemicals in there. I can tell you the 60 upstairs was filled and forgotten, as I call it. Fill and forget. Did that one that way. That took 2 months. This one's with chemicals. The only way I haven't done it really is with Quick Start and adding fish. I've used Quick Start in there. After the tank had cycled, I would put Quick Start in there just to make sure that the fish can adjust a little bit easier. Can I say it makes a difference or not? No. But I know it's a little bit of a peace of mind for me, because if something does happen and by adding fish the ammonia level does go up a little bit higher, the Quick Start in there does help them get through that little mini cycle if it needs to happen. So I will add Quick Start, and I've done it on the 60, and I've done it on a couple of the other tanks too. If I feel that there could be a small spike in ammonia, I will add some Quick Start to it, just to make sure that if there is a mini cycle, they're not going to be as effective as they would be normally. And I've never lost any fish that way. By switching tanks, I don't lose fish. So it works as well, at least to me. I can say I haven't lost any, so to me it works. But that's really about it, guys. And I know this is a little bit longer of a video. I hope that I answered all your guys' questions. I know we covered the actual cycle process itself, and then again, how to cycle a tank, do's and don'ts. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, if you feel I left anything out, or if you have any suggestions on how to do it yourself, please drop them in the box below. Let me know. Like I said before, the more education we can get out there, the better it is for everybody. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and share. It does help out tremendously. It will allow other members to get into the fish keeping hobby. And the more people that we have, the faster we can grow. And that allows us more rooms for different species and different breeds. And it would definitely be cool to see. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, happy fish keeping.